Ladies and gentlemen, there are seasons in life when everything feels ordinary, predictable, and even stagnant. And then there are moments when something begins to shift beneath the surface. You may not see it clearly at first, you may not even understand it, but deep within your spirit, you sense that God is doing something new. He is not merely adjusting your circumstances, He is upgrading your life. The question is not whether He is working, the question is whether you are willing to accept what He is doing. The first sign that God is upgrading your life is that He begins to make you uncomfortable where you once felt comfortable. Suddenly, the places, habits, and relationships that once satisfied you no longer do. It feels like you've outgrown something, but you can't quite explain why. That discomfort is not punishment. It is preparation. God often stirs dissatisfaction in our hearts to move us towards something greater. If you are feeling restless, it may be because He is calling you higher. Growth requires stretching, and stretching is rarely comfortable. Instead of resisting the tension, recognize it as evidence that you are not meant to remain where you are. The second sign is that certain doors begin to close, even doors you desperately wanted to walk through. Rejection stings. Lost opportunities can feel devastating, but when God is upgrading your life, He will shut doors that no longer align with His purpose for you. Sometimes what feels like a setback is actually divine protection. You may have prayed for something specific, but He sees the entire picture. He sees what lies ahead. If a door has closed despite your best efforts, trust that it was not meant for your future. God does not remove something without intending to replace it with something better suited to your calling. What you perceive as loss may actually be redirection. The third sign is that your circle begins to change. When God is elevating you, He often shifts the people around you. Some relationships grow distant, others fall away entirely. This can be painful because familiarity feels safe. Yet not everyone is meant to accompany you into your next season. As your mindset changes, your values deepen, and your purpose becomes clearer, some connections may no longer align. Do not cling to relationships that hinder your growth. God may be removing distractions to surround you with individuals who sharpen your faith, challenge your thinking, and encourage your obedience. When your environment changes, it is often because your assignment is changing. The fourth sign is an increase in spiritual sensitivity. You begin to notice a stronger conviction about certain behaviors. Your conscience feels more alert. Your desire for truth, prayer, and integrity deepens. You become more aware of God's presence in your daily life. This heightened awareness is not accidental. When God upgrades your life, He refines your character. Promotion in His kingdom is never just about external success. It is about internal transformation. Before He entrusts you with greater influence or responsibility, He strengthens your foundation. If you feel a deeper pull toward righteousness and wisdom, that is evidence that He is preparing you for something significant. The fifth sign is unexpected challenges. Many people assume that an upgrade means ease and immediate comfort, but often when God is elevating you, opposition increases. New responsibilities stretch you. Trials test your patience and faith. The pressure intensifies, yet pressure produces strength. Diamonds are formed under pressure, and character is forged in adversity. Do not interpret difficulty as abandonment. Sometimes the very challenges you face are training grounds for the level you are about to enter. What feels overwhelming today may be equipping you for tomorrow's assignment. When you recognize these signs, the key is acceptance. Accept that growth requires change. Accept that obedience may demand sacrifice. Accept that the process may not make sense to you right now. Faith is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting the one who does. You cannot step into what God has prepared while clinging to what He is trying to remove. Release the old season with gratitude, even if it was comfortable. Embrace the new season with courage, even if it is unfamiliar. There is a profound difference between resisting God's upgrade and receiving it. Resistance creates frustration. You may find yourself fighting circumstances, questioning every delay, and trying to force outcomes. But reception brings peace. When you surrender to His timing and His methods, you experience a calm confidence. You understand that your life is not random. Every closed door, every new opportunity, every shifting relationship is part of a larger design. It is also important to remember that an upgrade is not merely about material blessings or visible achievements. God's definition of elevation often begins within. He upgrades your thinking, your discipline, your patience, and your compassion. He enlarges your capacity to forgive. He strengthens your resolve to stand firm in truth. These internal changes are the foundation for any external success that may follow. Without character, promotion becomes dangerous. With character, promotion becomes purposeful. Some of you may be standing at the threshold of a new chapter right now. You sense the shift, you feel the discomfort, you see the changes unfolding around you, and perhaps you are afraid. Fear is natural when stepping into the unknown, but do not let fear rob you of what God is preparing. The same God who carried you through past seasons is the one guiding you now. He is not upgrading your life to harm you. He is upgrading you to fulfill the purpose for which you were created. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" begin asking, "What is God preparing me for?" That question changes everything. It shifts your focus from frustration to expectation. It transforms your attitude from resistance to readiness. When you adopt a posture of trust, you begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. Accept the pruning, accept the stretching, accept the refinement. These are not signs of loss. They are signs of love. A loving father does not leave his children stagnant. He calls them forward. He shapes them for greater impact. He guides them toward a future that aligns with his will. If you are willing to accept the upgrade, you will discover that what lies ahead surpasses what lies behind. The discomfort will give way to clarity. The closed doors will lead to better paths. The changing circle will introduce stronger support. The increased sensitivity will deepen your faith, and the challenges will reveal strength you never knew you possessed. God is not finished with you. He is working in ways you cannot yet see. And if you trust Him through this season of transition, you will look back one day and realize that what felt uncertain was actually divine advancement all along. One of the clearest signs that God is upgrading your life is a deep, unsettling discomfort in places that once felt perfectly fine. You may wake up one morning and realize that what used to excite you no longer does. The conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. The routines that once satisfied you now feel limiting. You cannot always explain it to others, and sometimes you cannot even explain it to yourself. But there is an inner stirring, a quiet awareness that you are not meant to remain where you are. That discomfort is not a mistake. It is not confusion. It is divine preparation. Growth rarely begins with comfort. When everything feels easy and familiar, there is little motivation to move forward. Comfort can become a cage disguised as security. God loves you too much to allow you to remain confined by what is merely familiar. So He allows a holy dissatisfaction to rise within you. Suddenly, the job that once felt like a blessing feels too small for your capacity. The environment that once felt safe now feels restrictive. Even certain habits begin to lose their appeal. This is not ingratitude, it is expansion. God is enlarging your vision. When God prepares you for more, He changes your appetite. You begin to desire deeper meaning rather than surface-level success. You long for purpose instead of applause. You seek growth instead of mere stability. This shift can feel unsettling because it disrupts what you have known. Yet that inner tension is evidence that He is stretching your capacity. Just as muscles must be stretched to grow stronger, your faith, mindset, and character must be stretched to carry greater responsibility. Discomfort also exposes areas that need refinement. When you feel unsettled, you become more aware of weaknesses, distractions, and compromises that once went unnoticed. You begin to see clearly what no longer aligns with the person you are becoming. That clarity is a gift. God reveals these things not to condemn you, but to prepare you. Elevation requires purification. Before He entrusts you with more influence, He strengthens your integrity. Before He expands your opportunities, He deepens your character. Many people misinterpret discomfort as a sign that something is wrong. They assume that peace only exists where there is no tension. But sometimes true peace comes from knowing that God is at work, even in the stretching. The absence of discomfort can actually indicate stagnation. When nothing challenges you, nothing changes you. But when you feel that inner push, that quiet urging towards something higher, it is often because God is calling you beyond your current limits. This process requires courage. It is easier to cling to what you know than to step into what you cannot yet see. Familiarity feels safe even when it limits you. Yet if you hold tightly to the old season, you will struggle to embrace the new one. God does not upgrade your life by forcing you forward. He invites you. He allows the discomfort to gently nudge you toward obedience. The choice remains yours. You can either resist the stretching or surrender to it. Sometimes this discomfort shows up in your thinking. You begin to question patterns you once accepted. You challenge beliefs that once defined you. Your perspective shifts. You see possibilities where you once saw barriers. This mental expansion is part of the upgrade. God often changes your thinking before He changes your circumstances. If your mindset remains small, you cannot sustain a larger assignment. So He renews your mind first, preparing you internally for what He plans to do externally. At other times, the discomfort appears in your spirit. You feel a stronger pull toward discipline, toward prayer, toward excellence. Activities that once consumed your time now feel like distractions. You sense that your time is valuable and your calling is significant. This awareness is not pressure, it is awakening. God is sharpening your focus. He is aligning your priorities with your purpose. Do not confuse discomfort with abandonment. When God is silent or when the path ahead seems unclear, it can feel lonely. But stretching seasons are often quiet seasons. He works beneath the surface, strengthening roots before allowing visible growth. Just because others do not see what is happening does not mean nothing is happening. In fact, the most significant transformations often occur in hidden places. If you are experiencing this kind of divine discomfort, pause and reflect rather than panic. Ask yourself what God might be teaching you. Where is He challenging you to grow? What habits is He urging you to release? What new direction is stirring in your heart? The discomfort is not meant to paralyze you. It is meant to propel you. It signals that your current season has served its purpose and that something greater awaits. Trust that the one who allowed the discomfort will also guide the transition. He does not stir your heart without providing direction. He does not stretch your capacity without supplying strength. The same God who brought you this far is fully capable of leading you forward. When you feel that inner restlessness, do not run from it. Lean into it. It may be the very evidence that your life is being prepared for a higher level of impact and purpose. One of the most difficult yet powerful signs that God is upgrading your life is when doors begin to close, especially the ones you worked hard to open. You prayed over those opportunities. You invested your time, your energy, and your hope into them. You imagined how your life would look if they worked out. And then unexpectedly, the answer is no. The position goes to someone else. The relationship falls apart. The plan you carefully constructed collapses. In those moments, it is natural to feel disappointed, confused, even wounded. But what you must understand is that a closed door is not always rejection. Sometimes it is redirection. When God closes a door, it is never accidental. He sees what you cannot see. He knows what lies beyond that opportunity. What appears attractive today, I carry consequences tomorrow that you are not prepared to handle. Because He loves you, He will block paths that would ultimately harm you or distract you from your true assignment. Protection does not always feel pleasant. In fact, it often feels like loss. But divine protection can look like denial in the moment and blessing in the future. There are times when you ask God for something specific, convinced that it is exactly what you need. Yet He answers differently, not because He is withholding goodness, but because His perspective is eternal, while yours is limited. You see a single chapter, He sees the entire story. If a door closes despite your sincere effort and prayer, you can trust that it does not align with the bigger purpose He has for you. Faith means believing that what He prevents is just as important as what He provides. Closed doors also reveal where your trust truly rests. When an opportunity disappears, you are confronted with a choice. Will you cling to what was denied, replaying the disappointment over and over, or will you surrender it and believe that something better is ahead? It is easy to praise God when doors swing open effortlessly. It is harder to trust Him when they shut firmly in your face. But growth often happens in the tension between expectation and surrender. Sometimes a closed door is not about timing, but about preparation. You may desire a certain level of success, influence, or responsibility, but God knows that your character must be strengthened before you can sustain it. If He were to grant every request immediately, you might step into situations that overwhelm you or expose weaknesses that have not yet been refined. So He delays, He redirects, He closes certain paths so that you can grow in areas that truly matter. What feels like exclusion may actually be preparation. There are also moments when closed doors force you to reconsider your direction entirely. You may have been pursuing something out of habit, fear, or external pressure rather than genuine calling. When that door closes, it disrupts your routine. It shakes your assumptions. It compels you to seek deeper guidance. In that seeking, clarity begins to emerge. You realize that what you were chasing was good, but it was not best. The closed door becomes a turning point, leading you toward a path that aligns more closely with your purpose. It is important not to waste energy trying to reopen doors that God has firmly shut. Striving against His will only leads to frustration. If you have done everything with integrity and the opportunity still disappears, accept it with humility. Release it with gratitude for the lesson it brought. When you stop pounding on a closed door, you free your hands to receive the one He is preparing to open. Holding on to what was lost can prevent you from recognizing what is coming. Trust also grows in these seasons. You learn that your security does not rest in a job title, a relationship, or a specific outcome. It rests in God's faithfulness. Closed doors teach you that He is your source, not the opportunity itself. When you shift your confidence from circumstances to His character, peace replaces panic. You begin to understand that if something truly belongs in your life, no one can take it away. And if it is removed, it was never meant to remain. Looking back over your life, you may already see evidence of this truth. There were opportunities you once mourned that in hindsight you are grateful did not work out. There were relationships you fought to preserve that would have limited your growth. There were paths you desperately wanted that would have led you away from your calling. At the time you could not see it, but now you recognize the wisdom in what was withheld. When a door closes, resist the urge to define yourself by that moment. You are not rejected, you are redirected, you are not overlooked, you are being guided. Instead of asking why it happened, ask where it is leading. Redirection is not failure, it is guidance. It positions you for doors that align with who you are becoming. And when the right door opens, it often does so with a clarity and peace that confirms it is from God. There is less striving, less anxiety, and more assurance. What once required constant pushing now flows with purpose. You realize that the closed doors were necessary to guide you here. In time, you will understand that what felt like loss was actually loving intervention, steering you toward a future far greater than the one you had imagined for yourself. Another powerful sign that God is upgrading your life is the shift that begins to happen in your relationships and within your inner character. As He prepares you for a higher level of purpose, your circle often begins to change. The people who once surrounded you may no longer feel aligned with where you are headed. Conversations that once felt normal now feel limiting. This shift can be confusing and even painful because human connection is deeply meaningful. Yet when God is elevating you, He adjusts your environment to match your assignment. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into your next season. Some people are part of your history, but not your destiny. They served a purpose in a particular chapter of your life, but as you grow, your direction changes. It does not mean you must harbor bitterness or resentment. It simply means you recognize that alignment matters. When your values deepen and your focus sharpens, misalignment becomes more noticeable. God may gently remove certain influences so that your growth is not hindered by distraction or negativity. As your circle shifts, you may experience loneliness. Familiar faces become distant. Invitations decrease. You may feel misunderstood because your priorities are changing. Yet this isolation is often temporary and purposeful. God sometimes reduces external noise so you can hear his voice more clearly. In quieter seasons, you develop discernment. You begin to value quality over quantity in relationships. You seek those who challenge your thinking, encourage your faith, and hold you accountable to your calling. Alongside relational changes, there is also a deepening within your character. When God upgrades your life, he works from the inside out. He increases your sensitivity to right and wrong. Your conscience becomes sharper. Things you once tolerated now trouble your spirit. Compromises that once seemed minor now feel significant. This heightened awareness is evidence of refinement. God is strengthening your integrity because elevation without integrity leads to instability. Character development is rarely glamorous. It happens in daily choices, choosing honesty when dishonesty would be easier, choosing patience when frustration feels justified, choosing humility when pride tries to rise. These small decisions shape who you are becoming. Before God entrusts you with greater influence, he ensures that your foundation is strong. Influence magnifies character. If your character is weak, greater exposure only amplifies the weakness. But if your character is rooted in truth and discipline, promotion becomes sustainable. You may also notice that your tolerance for negativity decreases. Gossip, cynicism, and constant complaining begin to exhaust you. You crave conversations that inspire growth rather than drain energy. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. As your mindset matures, you naturally seek environments that reinforce your development. God refines your appetite so that you hunger for wisdom rather than distraction. In this process, forgiveness often becomes essential. As relationships shift, you may confront past wounds. You may recognize ways you were hurt or ways you hurt others. Growth requires releasing bitterness. Carrying resentment into your next season will only weigh you down. When God upgrades your life, he teaches you to let go of offenses so your heart remains light and free. Forgiveness is not about excusing wrong behavior. It is about refusing to let it control your future. Humility also deepens during this season. You become more aware of your dependence on God. As your capacity increases, so does your understanding that success is not self-generated. Gratitude replaces entitlement. You realize that every opportunity is a gift, every lesson a blessing. This humility protects you from pride, which can quietly sabotage elevation. The higher you rise, the more grounded you must remain. Discipline strengthens as well. You begin to manage your time more intentionally. You prioritize growth over convenience. You understand that your calling requires preparation. While others may remain comfortable in routine, you feel compelled to improve. You read more, pray more, reflect more, not out of pressure, but out of awareness that your future demands readiness. God refines your habits so they support the life he is leading you toward. As your circle changes and your character deepens, you may question whether you are losing something. In reality, you are gaining alignment. The relationships that remain or newly enter your life will often reflect your growth. They will encourage your vision rather than compete with it. They will celebrate your progress rather than resent it. These connections become sources of strength as you step into greater responsibility. Transformation on this level is not always visible to others. They may not see the internal battles you fight, the compromises you refuse, the discipline you practice. But God sees it all. He values hidden faithfulness more than public recognition. When he upgrades your life, he ensures that your inner world is strong enough to support your outer success. Over time, you will recognize that the changes in your circle and character were not losses, but necessary adjustments. They positioned you for healthier relationships, clearer focus, and stronger integrity. You will see that God was not removing people to isolate you, but refining your environment to protect your purpose. What once felt like separation will reveal itself as preparation, shaping you into a person capable of carrying greater responsibility with wisdom, grace, and unwavering faith. Another undeniable sign that God is upgrading your life is the increase in challenges and responsibility. Many people assume that when God is moving them forward, life will immediately become easier. They expect smooth paths, instant success, and visible rewards. But more often than not, elevation brings greater pressure. The assignment becomes heavier. The expectations increase, the opposition intensifies, and if you are not careful, you may mistake this pressure for punishment instead of preparation. When God is preparing you for a higher level, He allows circumstances that stretch your endurance. You may face obstacles that require deeper faith than you have ever exercised before. Situations arise that demand patience when everything in you wants immediate results. Problems appear that cannot be solved by your natural abilities alone. These moments are not designed to break you. They are designed to build you. Pressure reveals what is inside you. It exposes weaknesses, but it also uncovers strength you did not know you possessed. Increased challenges often come with increased responsibility. You may find that more people depend on you. Your decisions carry greater weight. Your words influence more lives. With greater impact comes greater accountability. God does not elevate someone into influence without first preparing them to handle it wisely. The trials you face today are training grounds for tomorrow's leadership. Each difficulty teaches discernment. Each delay cultivates patience. Each setback develops resilience. It is important to understand that resistance often accompanies growth. When you step into new territory, you will encounter unfamiliar obstacles. Doubt may whisper that you are not ready. Critics may question your direction. Even friends may not fully understand the path you are taking. This resistance is not proof that you are outside of God's will. Sometimes it is confirmation that you are moving forward. Progress disrupts comfort zones, both yours and others. When you rise, the environment around you shifts. Challenges also refine your faith. It is easy to trust God when everything is stable, but when circumstances become uncertain, your trust deepens or diminishes. In seasons of upgrade, God invites you to depend on Him more fully. You learn that your strength is limited, but His is not. You discover that prayer is not a last resort, but a lifeline. You begin to rely less on your own understanding and more on His guidance. Through difficulty, your relationship with Him becomes more intimate and authentic. There are moments when the weight feels overwhelming. You may question whether you ask for too much or step too far. You may feel stretched beyond your comfort and capacity. Yet remember that God measures your potential more accurately than you do. If He allowed the challenge, it is because He knows you can grow through it. He would not permit an assignment that ultimately destroys you. The very fact that you are facing greater challenges is evidence that He sees greater strength in you. Adversity also teaches humility. Success without struggle can create pride, but when you rise through hardship, you remember the journey. You remain compassionate toward others who struggle. You understand that your progress required perseverance and grace. This humility becomes part of your character, protecting you from arrogance as your influence expands. During these seasons, perseverance becomes essential. Upgrades rarely happen overnight. There may be long stretches where you feel unseen and unrecognized. You continue working, believing, and pressing forward even when results seem slow. This endurance is shaping you. It is building consistency and faithfulness. Many people desire elevation but are unwilling to endure preparation. Yet the preparation is what sustains the elevation. Increased challenges also sharpen your focus. When distractions attempt to pull you away, you learn to prioritize what truly matters. You cannot afford to waste energy on trivial conflicts or unnecessary drama. Your time becomes valuable. Your energy becomes strategic. The pressure teaches you discipline. It trains you to make wise decisions under stress. These skills are essential for the level you are approaching. Sometimes the opposition you face is internal rather than external. Old fears resurface. Insecurities try to convince you that you are inadequate. You confront parts of yourself that need healing and growth. This internal battle is just as significant as external trials. God uses it to strengthen your confidence in Him rather than in yourself. When you overcome self-doubt through faith, you emerge stronger and more grounded. Do not interpret difficulty as abandonment. Growth and challenge often travel together. The higher the building, the deeper the foundation must be. The stronger the alling, the greater the preparation. When challenges increase, it may be because your capacity is expanding. You are being shaped to handle influence, responsibility, and impact at a higher level. In time, you will look back and realize that the very pressures you once feared were the tools that shaped you. The trials refined your character. The obstacles strengthened your resolve. The resistance clarified your purpose. What once felt like overwhelming weight became the training that prepared you to stand confidently in your new season. Ladies and gentlemen, when you step back and look at the full picture, you begin to understand that none of these signs are random. The discomfort, the closed doors, the changing relationships, the deepening character, and the increased challenges are not isolated events. They are interconnected movements of a faithful God who is intentionally shaping your future. He is not reacting to your life. He is orchestrating it. Every stretch, every delay, every shift carries purpose. When God upgrades your life, He does not always announce it with visible rewards or immediate success. Often the evidence appears in subtle transformations. You think differently, you respond differently, you endure differently. You trust more deeply. The upgrade begins within you long before it becomes visible around you. That internal strengthening is what allows you to sustain external elevation when it comes. The truth is, many people pray for growth but resist change. They desire new levels but cling to old habits. They ask for open doors but refuse to release closed ones. Yet you cannot step into a new season while holding tightly to the old one. Acceptance is the bridge between where you are and where God is leading you. When you accept His process, you move from frustration to faith. You stop fighting what He is removing and start embracing what He is yielding. There will always be moments of uncertainty. You may not fully understand why certain people had to leave, why certain opportunities did not work out, or why certain trials lasted longer than expected. But faith does not require full understanding. It requires trust. Trust that He sees what you cannot. Trust that His timing is precise. Trust that what He is preparing for you is worth the process you are going through. As you reflect on these 5 signs, allow them to strengthen your confidence rather than weaken it. If you feel stretched, it is because your capacity is expanding. If doors have closed, it is because better ones are ahead. If your circle is shifting, it is because your calling is sharpening. If your character is deepening, it is because your influence is increasing. If challenges have intensified, it is because your responsibility is growing. None of it is wasted. Every moment is shaping you for something greater than you can currently imagine. Do not shrink back in fear when you sense change. Lean forward in faith. The same God who sustained you in past seasons will empower you in this one. He is not upgrading your life to overwhelm you, but to fulfill the purpose He placed within you long ago. What you are experiencing is not instability, it is transformation. What feels uncertain is actually alignment. What seems difficult is actually development. Stand firm, remain faithful, continue walking in integrity. Keep your heart open and your spirit teachable. The process may be challenging, but the outcome will be worth it. One day you will look back and see that this season was not a disruption. It was a divine setup for greater impact, deeper peace, and lasting purpose. Accept the upgrade, trust the process, and step boldly into the future God has prepared for you.